Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Have these thoughts of arrogance and pride, and then I would have these thoughts of shame and guilt and not enough, and then I would think, well, you know what, they're all counting on me to come through, and then I would think, well, am I enough? And then I would think, you know what, pretty much the world's gonna have an opinion on me in 3 hours, good or bad, and you know, most of them still do, good or bad. And so there would be the weight of that pressure. And so I say all of that to say, man, there are all these voices of some good and some bad. And so what I started to do was, leading on the bus ride, I started playing a song by Casting Crowns called The Voice of Truth. And I would listen to it literally over and over again, walking through it, because it says, the voice of truth tells me a different story. The voice of truth says, do not be afraid. The voice of truth says, this is for my glory. And out of all the voices calling out to me, I will choose to listen and believe the voice of truth. And why I would listen to that is because there are always, for every single one of us, and for all of you, there will be a lot of voices that are going to say, hey, you're not enough. You should have guilt. You should have shame. You should be arrogant. You know, you shouldn't be nice to everyone. You should, and all of these things, and we're going to hear them all the time. And social media is going to tell us that maybe more than any of the rest. But are any of those the voice of truth? No, I'll tell you what is the voice of truth? It's God's promises. It's God's promises that He loves you like crazy. It's God's promises that you are more than enough. It's God's promises of what He did for you on the cross. It's God's promises that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And I don't have to be defined by what happens on a football field, good or bad, because I'm defined by what He did for me on the cross. And so I get to remind that. And so why I wanted to remember the voice of truth is because none of what people are saying is the truth. Truth by definition is exclusive. And I want to remember what He said about me, because that is the truth. And so, you know what? Yeah, it's hard to not live in the highs and lows of sports and the media and social media. But if you do, if you get caught up in it like I have at times, it will be a roller coaster. And your identity will come in the wins and the losses. But that's not your real identity. Your real identity is Him, and your real identity isn't who you are, it's whose you are. And I would encourage all of us together, myself included. It's so easy to get caught up in that. And I'm not saying that you don't get caught up in trying to be your best. But at the end, you know that you can walk away out of that stadium, off that field, off of this campus, knowing your identity didn't come from that win or that loss. And I think that was one of the biggest things that I was sort of able to learn as I grew, but it's something that you always have to practice and continue to meditate on. And meditate really just means regurgitate, right? And and go over constantly, and you're meditating on the truth and how I can not get caught up in the whirlwind.